The year is 1992. The Melbourne Cricket Ground is a cauldron of noise. 100,000 voices pressing down on the pitch. Imran Khan stands at the top of his mark, sweat stinging his eyes, his lungs burning with the humidity of the night. He stares down the batsman, his focus narrowing until the crowd vanishes into a dull, rhythmic hum. He charges. The run-up is measured, aggressive, a predator closing the distance. He releases the ball, and it leaves his hand like a lightning bolt. The sound of the wood connecting with the ball is sharp, decisive. A moment later, the stadium erupts. Golden trophy gleams. Defiant spirit roars. They were trapped, written off, and left for dead by the critics, yet they clawed their way to the summit. He had proven that when the odds are absolute, the only way out is through. That victory was the prologue. The roar of the stadium faded, replaced by the sterile, biting silence of political backrooms. Imran stepped onto a different field, one where the rules were rigged and the referees were shadows. The elite in their air-conditioned studios laughed, dismissing him as a celebrity lost in a game he could not comprehend. They mocked his transition, but he ignored the noise. He traded the spotlight for the dust of rural villages, his voice growing hoarse from shouting into microphones at nearly empty fields. He walked until his boots were caked in dry earth, listening to the grievances of the forgotten. While the critics sharpened their pens, he picked up a trowel. He began the Shaukat Khanum Hospital, brick by brick, a testament to his mother and a promise to the poor. He was proving he could lead, even as the throne of Islamabad remained a distant, shimmering mirage. The long years of silence finally broke in 2011. The tsunami arrived not as a disaster, but as a tidal wave of human energy. A sea of green and red flags flooded the streets of Lahore, turning the city into a pulsing, rhythmic force. The youth of Pakistan, previously disengaged, found their roar. They climbed onto rooftops and filled the intersections, their voices merging into a single, undeniable demand for change. Imran stood at the center of this storm, his presence no longer an outlier, but a focal point. The momentum surged through the provinces, turning small gatherings into massive demonstrations. By 2018, the outsider had breached the gates of power. The ballot boxes told a story that the establishment had spent decades trying to suppress. He walked into the Prime Minister's office, the weight of a decade-long climb finally settling on his shoulders. He took the oath, the cameras flashing, the world watching. He had arrived, but the true test of his resolve was only just beginning. The office in Islamabad was grand, but the air inside was heavy and stagnant. Imran sat behind a desk of polished mahogany, his pen hovering over stacks of files that demanded his signature. The honeymoon of the election evaporated within weeks. He inherited a hollow economy, a ledger of debt that bled the nation dry. Outside the windows, the city moved with a rhythm he did not control. He was the leader, yet he felt the invisible hands of the establishment pulling at every thread of his administration. For a time, they danced in lockstep, sharing the stage of national governance. But Imran was never a man built for obedience. He began to assert civilian authority, questioning the logic of appointments that had been made in the shadows for decades. He demanded transparency where there was only tradition. The friction sparked in quiet hallways and escalated in late-night briefings. He refused to rubber stamp the decisions of generals, his jaw set, his gaze fixed on the files. The collision was no longer a possibility. It was a countdown. The pressure reached a breaking point during a televised interview. The question was sharp, designed to corner him. Would he allow foreign bases on Pakistani soil? Imran looked directly into the camera lens, his expression unyielding. He spoke two words that echoed through the halls of power. Absolutely not. The response was a shockwave. It tore through the carefully maintained status quo, signaling a defiance that could not be ignored. Within days, the response arrived in the form of a secret diplomatic cable from Washington. It was known as the cipher. The document landed on his desk, a cold, calculated ultimatum. It demanded a change in leadership, threatening severe consequences. The message was clear: remove the man or face the fallout. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as the weight of the threat settled. He held the paper, feeling the texture of the threat. Most would have folded. Instead, he stood up. The countdown to his ouster had begun. The parliamentary floor was a graveyard of loyalties. The no-confidence vote passed in the dead of night, a cold, calculated maneuver that stripped him of his office. He walked out of the building, the heavy doors closing behind him, with a finality that echoed through the empty corridors. They expected him to vanish, to retreat into the silence of political exile. Instead, he did the unthinkable. He took the secret diplomatic cable, the document that had been used to threaten his nation, and carried it into the light. He stood before a sea of thousands, the wind whipping the white paper in his hand. He held it high, a beacon of defiance under the harsh glare of the spotlights. The crowd surged forward, a roar rising from the earth that drowned out the whispers of the elite. He did not hide the truth. He broadcast it. Every word of the ultimatum became a rallying cry for the masses. He was no longer a prime minister trapped by protocols. He was a man speaking directly to the pulse of the country. The streets were no longer just pavement and concrete. They were a stage for the final act of his resistance. He saw the spark of a movement that no vote could extinguish. The 3rd of November, 2022. The rally in Wazirabad was a steady, rhythmic pulse of drums and chanting. Thousands moved as one, the energy thick and electric under the afternoon sun. Imran stood atop the container, his voice rising above the noise, commanding the space. Then, the rhythm shattered. A sharp mechanical crack tore through the air, followed immediately by another. The sound was distinct, alien against the backdrop of the crowd. Imran flinched, his legs buckling as the bullets found their mark. A close associate collapsed nearby, the sudden violence turning the platform into a scene of chaos. The crowd surged, a wave of confusion and terror washing over the streets. He fell, but he did not collapse into fear. As he was hoisted up and carried toward the waiting vehicle, the air was heavy with the metallic tang of blood. He looked back at the sea of faces, his expression hardening into a mask of resolve. He did not hide his pain. He did not seek cover. He raised his right hand, fingers spread wide in the sign of victory. The gesture was a jagged line drawn in the air, a silent refusal to be broken. The transition was absolute. From the open air of the rallies to the suffocating stillness of an 8x8 cell in Adiala jail. The walls were thick, gray, and indifferent to the man they contained. Here, the noise of the world was reduced to the scrape of a metal tray and the heavy thud of iron bolts. They came to him with offers, draped in the promise of safety, a private flight, a life of comfort in London, the luxury of exile, in exchange for his silence. He sat on the edge of the narrow cot, his gaze fixed on the sliver of sky visible through the high, barred window. He did not look at the emissaries. He did not entertain the terms. He spoke only once, his voice steady against the damp stone. "I would rather be a prisoner of a sovereign nation than a king of a colony." The deal died in that room. Deprived of his party, his symbol, and his freedom, he became a ghost that haunted the halls of power. He turned the cell into a command center, his influence radiating through the bars like a signal. He led a revolution without a single television appearance. 10 in summon, his absence becoming a louder presence than any speech. The silence of the prison became the heartbeat of a nation, proving that walls could contain a man, but they could never imprison the resolve of a movement. February 8th arrived with a cold, biting wind, but the streets were already choked with movement. Thousands stood in lines that stretched for blocks, their breath visible in the morning air. They were not there for a party or a promise. They were there for the man behind the bars. The hours passed, the sun climbed, and the queues remained unbroken. Each person waited for their turn to step into the small, curtained booth. When they emerged, they held their hands up, a dark smudge of ink staining their thumbs. It was a silent protest, a mark of defiance that spoke louder than any rally cry. They had been told he was finished, that his name had been scrubbed from the ballots and his party dismantled. But the ink told a different story. It was the physical evidence of a collective will that refused to be silenced. As the polls closed, the count began, and the results rippled through the country like a shockwave. The outsider had not just survived, he had redefined the landscape of power. History is often written by those who hold the sword, but legends are forged by those who refuse to break under its weight. Imran Khan remains a testament to a simple, unyielding truth. A nation is only truly free when it bows to no one but its creator. The ink on those thumbs did not just mark a ballot, it marked the end of an era of submission. The man in the cell had won, not by taking the throne, but by waking the people.